The first thing that I think people need to understand when they're considering buying a condo is that a condo is a style of ownership. It's not a style of construction, right? So
Okay.
think condo, your high-rise tower in the sky, but that's not the case. Townhome condominium corporations are very common. We have things called common elements condo corporation, where it's only the infrastructure of the community that's covered by the condo and not the unit itself. And
Yep.
there's even interesting styles of condos like safety deposit boxes.
Welcome to Real Stories in Real Estate with your host, Denise Laframboise. Real people sharing real stories about their adventures in real estate.
Welcome to Real Stories in Real Estate. I'm your host, Nickley Evans, and today we have Lyndsey McNally with us to share about condo ownership. Welcome, Lyndsey.
Technically.
Hi, so happy to have you here. Lyndsey is legitimately one of the coolest people I know, especially when it comes around condos and condo ownership. Can you tell us a bit about your background with your condo expertise, Lyndsey?
Of course. So I've worked in residential condominium communities across Canada for 22 years. A lot of that time I was working in operational and financial management roles, like physically operating these condominium corporations. What I do now is more focused on the financial end. I work with doing commercial loans for condo corporations that can't meet their capital repair obligations. So many people don't understand that condo corporations, they are themselves business entities.
Mm-hmm.
They can borrow money under their own credit so that if there are unexpected costs, the individual unit owners don't all have to kind of shoulder that burden of financing it themselves.
Okay. So your financing isn't around individual people buying a condo, to be clear. You're looking at the condo corporation as a whole as in your current role. And you also do some different volunteering and spend all your time with condos. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do in your free time with condos as well, Lyndsey?
Yeah, so right now I'm president of the Toronto and area chapter of the Canadian Condominium Institute. CCI is an organization that's really focused around education for condo corporations and the directors, the volunteer directors that are running them, to make sure that the condo community as a whole is empowered with the right information to operate successfully.
Yeah, and this is where you like yourself and Denise and I really align strongly is the real focus on education, because I think oftentimes consumers in the market and people who already own condos, the level of information and education that they have is not where that should be, let's say, a lot of the time. So what should people who want to become condo owners really know before they enter into that process to purchase a condo? Is there anything that they don't know that they should know?
It's a really important question. The first thing that I think people need to understand when they're considering buying a condo is that a condo is a style of ownership. It's not a style of construction, right? So
Okay.
think condo, your high-rise tower in the sky, but that's not the case. Townhome condominium corporations are very common. We have things called common elements condo corporation, where it's only the infrastructure of the community that's covered by the condo and not the unit itself.
Yeah.
And there's even interesting styles of condos like safety deposit boxes.
Oh.
All it really is a way for a group of unrelated individuals to share the costs of operating their property. Okay.
Yep.
So that's what a condominium corporation is, and that's something people really need to understand. The other important thing is that people often think about condos, buying a condo unit, as being more affordable than a traditional.
Yeah.
But it's really not an affordable style of ownership, the way that we think about it. It's actually a luxury style of ownership. When we look at a condo corporation has certain standards to which it needs to meet the maintenance and repair of the property set out in the declaration of the individual condo. So every condominium is different. But if I compare it to a single family home, if I buy a condominium corporation, a townhouse style, and they have lawn maintenance as an example, right? You have landscapers coming to take care of the property every week. The condo has an obligation to maintain that service at whatever cost that service comes at. If I live in a single family home, I can choose to buy a lawnmower for $200 and cut the grass myself every week.
Yep.
So when you are buying into a condo corporation, it's really important that you know what you're paying for.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing what's included in the condominium fees actually can help the dollar value to seem a little bit less scary. Many will include cable and things like that, 24/7 security. That can really be expensive. But ultimately, it tends to be the cost of things that you're not seeing day to day that really costs a lot in your condo fees. It's not unusual for about half of every dollar you pay to a condo corporation to go towards maintaining its capital repair, your infrastructure. Okay. And we do that through reserve fund planning.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, condo corporations will engage engineers to look at the life cycle of components and the cost. Condo corporations have, similar to the obligations for the day-to-day stuff in their declarations, they also have something called a duty to repair. So again, likening it to your single family home, if I am maintaining my roof, I can choose as an individual to patch repair it if I have leaks going on.
Yep.
But condo corporations don't have that luxury. If they are aware that the roof needs to be replaced, the board of directors of the condo has an obligation to replace the roof on behalf of the collective group of owners. Okay. And this is one area that's really challenging the market right now.
Well, we often see people who are looking to purchase a condo, and within our calculations on the financing side for the individual, we have to look at the condo fees. Now, I think there's some misconceptions around condo fees, like how much the condo fee should be and if it's high or if it's low. So is a high condo fee, when someone's purchasing, is that a red flag from the perspective of what you've seen? Or is it more so that the condo corporation is aware of the costs? To me, I think really low condo fees is a bit more of a red flag in terms of perhaps they aren't charging enough on a month-to-month and they're not making sure they have the reserve funds. Because to your point, condos, depending on what's included in the fees, they have a lot of common areas and a lot of things that may need to be replaced. And these aren't cheap things. Doing the roof of a condo, if it's that high-rise piece, that's not inexpensive, is it?
Yeah, it's not so much the roofs that are driving costs.
Okay.
It's the more expensive capital repair infrastructure projects. So things like windows, building cladding, underground garages, underground utilities, these come at the highest price tag. Okay. But to be more specific, coming back to your question, what I would say is it can be difficult to compare one condominium corporation to another because they'll have different styles of construction. They'll have different things that are included in the day-to-day fees, but also they'll have a different history of financial management and spending. And this can really play into it, right? Where your condo fees sit today. When I'm assessing the overall health of a condo corporation from a credit perspective, one thing that I look at is I try to compare similar real estate in the geographic area to the condo I'm looking at from a fee perspective. And I'm looking to just kind of see if it's in a healthy range.
Okay.
If the fees are way too low or way too high, those are both red flags. So you kind of want to be in a sweet spot in the middle where if a potential purchaser was looking in the real estate market, that they wouldn't see a condo with much lower fees because that might make your condo less attractive. But again, you've got to kind of compare those apples to apples. And a lot of times I'll hear things, I spend a lot of time consulting condominium communities about their financial management. And one comment that I'll often hear is things like, our condo fees are so high, but we don't even have a pool.
Yes.
When you look at those types of amenities, those are not what drive the increases to the condo fees. Typically, It's utilities. If we look at a standard high-rise construction,
Mhm.
what I will normally see is half of it is capital repair savings.
Yep.
25% of it is utilities, right? Hydro, water, gas.
Yeah.
Maybe another 15% is contract services, security, management, those types of things. And then it's everything else. And
Yeah.
that else is operating your amenities and those types of things. So it's really not those types of issues that are driving increases to condo fees.
I think the challenge, of course, with someone who is looking to purchase a condo is, it's affordability. So if they are a condo purchaser, that's what they've decided is the type of property they're looking to purchase. I think that the ambiguity around like comparing the apples to apples across the board is really tricky when you're looking to purchase a condo. Like people often do think that the pool or the gym and those kind of amenities that's driving up the condo the costs of the condo fees. So when somebody is looking to purchase this kind of property, what can they look at to inform them as to whether the condo fees for the properties they're looking at are kind of in that range you're talking about, not the wickedly low or the super high? Like, is there something that they can, as a consumer, look at to kind of understand if it's where it should be?
Yeah, I think some of that comparison comes out naturally through the real estate buying process. If you're working with a realtor who's showing you things that you've expressed are important to you in a property, you're probably going to find commonalities between all of the condos that you're looking at, right? You're typically not walking into one condo and just buying it. So you'll find commonalities there, and you'll naturally kind of see the differences in condo fees. So again, really low or really high is kind of a red flag.
Yeah.
What you really want to pay attention to once you've settled on a condo that you think is in the right spot and suits your needs is you want to take a look at the status certificate.
Okay.
The status certificate is a document that you purchase from the Condominium Corporation, and that document is binding on the condo, meaning that you have the right to rely on the information that's provided to you to make decisions. Okay, the corporation's taking some liability in issuing that certificate. The status certificate discloses a whole bunch of important stuff, but from a condo fee perspective, most importantly, it will disclose any circumstances that the Condominium Corporation is aware of that could result in increases to the condo fees.
Okay.
So before you, waive your conditions on an offer, make sure that you've laid eyes on the status certificate so that you can kind of see what's coming down the pipe for that condo corporation.
Yeah.
If that checks out and everything's good and you purchase that condo, I would strongly recommend anyone living in a condominium corporation to, one, pay attention to what's happening, attend the annual general meetings, read the notices, because you're going to get important information about what's coming in the future. Things can change really quickly, especially in today's economic times. But also, get involved. It's not a bad idea to put your hand up to serve on the board of directors so that you know that you're in a position to make the important decisions on behalf of yourself, but to protect all of the members of your condominium community.
Absolutely. So with the condo fees and the condo corporation, people who put their hand up and volunteer, they've got like a volunteer board that manages the finances around the condo corporation. Have you seen cases where condo fees can go up quickly? Is that something that can happen? So say I purchase a condo tomorrow and I've got my agreement of purchase and sale, my MLS, I've reviewed the condo status certificate. Well, I've had my lawyer do it, because let's be honest, get your lawyer to do that stuff as well, because reading some of these more legal documents, like, rely on experts. Can the condo board then increase my fees tomorrow, after, like, the day after I close?
Yes, they can. Typically, a condo corporation increases the fees once annually. They'll have a regular fiscal budgetary cycle, and you should expect your condo fees to increase at least by inflation on an annual basis.
Okay.
But there is nothing that stops a condominium corporation from either revising its budget mid-year to increase the fees if it's necessary, but also to levy a special assessment.
Okay.
And special assessments are what, in my role, what I'm trying to help condominium corporations avoid if it makes sense for the condominium community. So sometimes condo corporations will be faced with circumstances where they do not have sufficient funds. Could be for capital repair projects, but it could really be for anything. The challenge in condominium corporations is that condos have only one source of revenue, or one major source of revenue, that being the owners of the condo corporation. And sometimes people will say, like, well, why don't condos just find ways to make money? The problem is that condos are not-for-profit organizations.
Right.
So they pay corporate tax. And once you start collecting any kind of major amount of revenue from outside sources, you run the risk of losing your not-for-profit status, and suddenly you have to pay
taxes. Yeah.
But also there's GST, HST implications.
Right.
So condo corporation doesn't have enough funds. They don't have outside sources of revenue. The only source of funds really is the owners of the condo corporation.
Right.
And this is when a special assessment typically is levied. So a special assessment, the interesting thing about a special assessment is they don't really exist in law. If you read the Condominium Act, you'll never find a reference to special assessment. Special assessment really is just an industry term.
Okay.
A condominium corporation will have the authority to levy a special assessment through its own general operating bylaw. And typically in the bylaws of a corporation, you'll find this referred to as an extraordinary expense. Mm-hmm. Essentially, the owners of a condominium corporation have an obligation to contribute their percentage share for any cost of the corporation, and the corporation can demand that payment at any time.
So at any time, if they've had a special assessment, like they've had something come up that they need to fix, because it is their obligation as a condo board to make sure that the common elements are maintained, they need that money, so they will ask the condo owners for that. So I agree with you. If you are owning a condo, you need to be on that board. You need to be involved, because like knowing about these things and directing that, I think is so important, so that you know what's coming. So Lyndsey, like with your role, you work with condo boards a lot then. Is that accurate? So that you can come in. And so if somebody who's listening today is on a condo board, how would they find you?
So I'm pretty easy to find online. You can Google Lyndsey McNally Condo. I have a very, very robust online presence. Mm-hmm. But, you know, people should be looking for me if they believe they have a need for a special assessment, mm-hmm. And that it would cause significant financial hardship to the owners of their condominium corporation. So I'm not interested in lending money to condos that don't have a need. You know, even if there's a special assessment, sometimes the ownership can afford it and they can move on. And that's actually the best potential situation, right?
Absolutely.
But from time to time, you know, these costs can be really big, or you can be working with challenging demographics who may not have access to borrow funds, you know, on their own. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so really what I'm here to help with is to provide basic education about how a special assessment works, what the impact of that looks like from a financial perspective in the condo fees, and then providing an alternative through a financing solution that would potentially increase the condo fees a little bit more, but eliminate that upfront financial hardship for the individual unit owners.
So at the end of the day, when you're invited in by a condo board to do this assessment, there's a need. It's not just like we kind of want some money in the bank. There's a need, and you come in and do an assessment with the condo board to figure out what's the least impactful way forward for the condo owners, essentially, so that this need is taken care of. Is that pretty accurate?
That's pretty accurate. You know, one of the really cool things about what I do is I really do empower communities through this education process. As I mentioned, in order to levy a special assessment, a board of directors simply needs to demand payment from its owners. Typical requirement in a condo corporation's bylaws is give them 10 days notice and they have to pay.
Wow.
In order to borrow money as a condominium corporation, they have to instead pass a borrowing bylaw. Okay. And a borrowing bylaw, it's a democratic process. You need approval of a simple majority of all units in the condominium corporation in order to move forward. So considering borrowing and putting a borrowing bylaw on the table it shifts the decision-making burden.
Yeah.
And the decision-making burden can be really difficult on these volunteer directors who are making hard decisions on behalf of their neighbors.
Yeah.
Right? Can you imagine announcing a huge special assessment and then having to see all your neighbors in the elevator the next day and everybody's So putting the borrowing bylaw in front of the community shifts that decision-making burden. It allows the community members to make an informed decision about what option is best for everyone.
Oh, I love that, because like you work the same way we work. We want everyone that we work with, all of our clients, to absolutely have all the information to be able to make a really informed decision. That's great, Lyndsey. I think we've run out of time. I'm definitely going to have you to come back, because I think your expertise around condos is so deep. You have so many really good amounts of wisdom to pass on to people who are looking into this form of ownership. So we're definitely going to do this again if you'll come back. But we will make sure as well, if anyone listening is on a condo board and they have any questions for Lyndsey, we'll make sure that we can connect you, because as I said, Lyndsey is one of the coolest people I know, and so passionate, educated, and involved with condos. So I encourage you to do the same if you're a condo owner or if you're considering being a condo owner. So thank you for tuning in to Real Stories in Real Estate podcast. You can check this out and other episodes on our website, laframboisemortgage.ca, or anywhere you consume your podcasts like Spotify, Apple, or iHeartRadio. Thank you so much for checking us out today.